Hey guys, BENZZ4318 with a full performance review of the Nike Lunarglide Plus 4. I do have the black version here in a size 12 US. Bought with my own money, so it's not spun or anything. So going to show you the shoe. If you're researching in the shoe, you're probably familiar with how it looks, so that section is short. And I'll show you quickly just how it's held up. I've had this since about mid-August of 2012. So, let's see, August, September, October, November, December, January, February, March. 8 months. So, I've had it quite a while now. Definitely all my feedback will be not, a week old. Um, so, as far as durability, shoe is very durable. There's signs of wear and tear, but overall the performance hasn't changed. Just the heel counter here has gotten kind of scratched up from being on concrete. The outsole is a little bit worn down, but I'll get onto that later. So that's about it for just showing you the shoe. Next, I'll talk about traction. So what they did with the Lunarglide 4 was they stripped it of a lot of unnecessary outsole materials. So compared to the last three iterations of the Lunarglide, being the first, second, and third, they've taken a lot of the rubber off of the shoe just to reduce weight. And so what they did was they reduced the rubber in the middle because they found out that people's outsoles were not rubbing off towards the middle. So they targeted where they needed the outsole rubber to be, and they placed it where it's necessary and didn't use it where it's not. So just a quick comparison, I have the Lunarglide 2, and this has full-length outsole, and this is by far a heavier shoe, so there is thought behind that, reduce weight, but like I was saying earlier, people that do not pronate, there is no outsole here. This is just the midsole showing through, and mine has gotten kind of worn down there and even on the edge here, and it still is wearing away here, but I believe this is BRS 1000, so this should still hold up for quite a while, and it is just directly glued on. So the traction, it's not the best traction. You're not going to be getting the best grip on, say, the road or the track or even indoor court if you run like your gym or whatever. It's not the greatest traction. Reason for this is that they did reduce the outsole, obviously, and they tried to simplify the outsole. So these materials, they have very just kind of unique but just very minimal grip. So to compare again to the Lunarglide 2, there's targeted pods where there's extra grip, and they have these little grid-like pattern, and this thing has phenomenal traction. So I would say that the traction isn't the greatest. Whether that's a big deal to you, whatever. But so next I'll move on to the upper. The upper is composed of engineered mesh, is what they call it, and the engineered mesh was announced about the same time as the Flyknit. Bring that in. So the Flyknit, it's a knitted upper. So I think when they first came up with the Flyknit, the Lunarglide 4 definitely took cues from it. It's not a Flyknit material on the Lunarglide, but it's very similar in aesthetic. You have targeted spots where it's thicker and targeted spots where it's thinner. So you can see my finger is through here, but here in this area it's a thicker knit, so that doesn't stretch as much. So it's targeted for different parts of your foot where they know you're gonna need more support, so it won't stretch so much. And then there's also parts like in here where it's allowed to conform a little bit more. So I don't think they pushed engineered mesh far enough when advertising the shoe, because it's really an amazing feature. The way that they did it, it's just so soft and very comfortable and breathable. And the inner part, I wouldn't say that it's engineered mesh, but there is a sock. I guess the word for it is a boot coming through on the inside, and that's to protect you from the dynamic fly wire, which I'll get onto now. That's the other major component of the upper in this shoe. It's first shoe to feature it. So it is a step up from the regular fly-wire cords, which were made of Vectrin. I'm not really sure what these are made out of. I'd say they're just plain strings, with but they're made out of fabric on the outside. Not fabric, but they're not string. They're stronger than that. They're tight. They don't stretch. So I would say that it's a welcome update, but I don't think it supports enough. So like the midfoot, like quarter part of the Lunarglide 2 with the flywire, there's no stretch in it at all. And whether people like that or not, I don't know. But there's no upper rollover. It's very tight. It doesn't give. But these, since it is able to move freely, it doesn't support as much as I'd like it to. It may just be a preference. As a casual shoe, it's great. They're not hugging your foot too tight where they're not pinching your foot, but they're giving enough support to where the upper feels like it's tight. But I don't think it's as effective as the previous generation flywire. So next, move on to the sock liner. This is the Lunarglide Plus 4, so it does have Nike Plus. I have my chip in my other shoe right now, but it does have Nike Plus sensor footbed, or in the footbed on the left foot. So if you like Nike Plus, if you're familiar with that, then it's great. If you're not, it's basically a system that Nike made that tracks your runs and how far you ran and how many calories you burned. But as far as the sock liner is, it is a Fitzel sock liner. It's just kind of worn off on mine. As far as to what number it is, I couldn't tell you, but it does look like it's specifically made for the Lunarglide 4 with these flex grooves. It does kind of curl up, and that's mainly because the flywire, it goes underneath your foot, so when you pull this tighter, the sock liner needs to give a little bit on the edges so it can curl up when the flywire does. So that's the reasoning behind that. Next, I'll talk about actually running in them. This is a performance shoe. It's a good-looking casual shoe, but the Lunarglide is one of Nike's premier running products. Obviously, a shoe like the Lunar Eclipse is a little bit more expensive. They're really pushing out, and it's like their top of the line, among other shoes. But as far as running goes, I really haven't been able to run in this one an incredible amount because I get shin splints. Maybe just because of my running type, but it may be because of the support. What Nike has done in previous Lunarglides, really any shoe with the Lunar midsole, is they have a system called dynamic support. So basically what that is that it's helping you with your pronating. So if you're not familiar with pronating, it's basically when you're stepping in on the outside of your foot and it's rolling inwards as you step down. So you're planting with the outside of your foot and then you roll in. 80% of people pronate, just throwing that number out. A lot of people pronate, but some people overpronate, some people underpronate. So it just depends on your running gait, and everybody is different. But so what Nike has come up with that is dynamic support. And they said that they had trouble telling people what that is. So what they did with the Lunarglide 4 is they exposed the lunar lawn, and they have the cush lawn, well, I believe it's a cush lawn, on this layer. So that way, when you're pronating in, the majority of this part of the midsole is lunar lawn. So it's a little bit softer foam. So you're coming in, and then the Cushlon, which is a little bit more dense and not as giving, that will kind of hold your roll, so you're not going to roll in too far. And then it also goes the same for underpronating. So that's their solution to that. Maybe that's why I was having trouble with it. And there's the naming for it, dynamic support. I'm not really sure, but I've ran in it enough to show you. Next, I'd say about the comfort. The comfort of the shoe is really great. You could wear it without socks, and it'd feel good. And one of the reasons for that is that the tongue it looks like it's unattached, but through here it's actually attached to the walls of the upper, of the boot that runs through here, the mesh boot. So there's no pinching or the tongue isn't rolling over where it's gonna put unnecessary pressure on the top of your foot. And also the lacing, like the tongue itself, is very padded, so the laces are not going to be pushing on the top of your foot very much. So it's really a comfortable shoe. I'd say the midsole, it's pretty comfortable with the Lunarglide for just casual, but it's it's a running shoe, so you kind of have to expect those to be comfortable. So as far as comparing to the Lunarglide 2, obviously the big difference is the quarter with the new flywire system, and the outsole is a big difference, but there are some other small but still technical differences. They reduce the heel counter here to this heel counter, which has exposed areas for more ventilation, whereas the old Lunarglide was plastic all the way around. And that's really just to save weight, because I don't think you need that much ventilation in your heel area, but it's a welcome difference. And also with the upper, as I was highlighting with the engineered mesh, this is an overlay that the engineered mesh is eliminated by intelligently having a thicker mesh in this area. So that's one of the biggest parts of how Nike reduced a lot of weight with the shoe. Because with this shoe being a size 12 and this shoe being a 10.5, the Lunarglide 4 is still 1.5 ounces lighter. So really phenomenal from Nike on that part. So negatives, I'd say one of my complaints about it is it makes kind of a like a slapping noise when you're stepping down onto, like, if you're walking on like a tile floor. It kind of makes a slapping noise when it hits, and I don't experience that with any of my other shoes, so it's kind of weird. Not really technical, but it's just kind of a nuisance. And other nuisance is that the traction on the road could be better. I would have liked if the traction on the outsole was a little bit more aggressive and less minimal. So that's about it for the review. You can pick these shoes up for $110, but I think this colorway you could actually get on sale at a lot of places, since it is one of the launch colorways. And also there's some premium versions that are a little bit more expensive, but those are not going to be your performance-based ones. So if you really wanted a pair of Lunarglide 4s, they do have them on sale at a lot of places in a lot of colors. You can get them at online stores such as like Finish Line, even from Nike, for pretty good prices. And they're also available at local running shops and stuff like Sports Authority and Dick's. So that's about it for this review, guys, and I hope you guys enjoy it. And subscribe for more videos, and I'll see you guys in the next one.